Okay, so here we are with section two of the interview with Barry Moltz. And here we're going to talk about bouncing from failure. Barry's an expert in this area. He's failed a lot, which he
Unfortunately.
openly admits. and sometimes I wonder if I've failed enough because maybe I haven't done enough. I've failed quite a few times, but I think there's room for more failures. But anyway, so if you could even just start talking to us about some of your biggest failures and then how that led to Bounce.
Well, I mean, it was kind of interesting because when I was at IBM the first 10 years, I just had successes. And when I left there, my mentor said, Barry, you're a pretty good business guy, but you haven't failed enough. And I go, what are you talking about? I think he was just jealous. And of course, over the next 5 years, I was fired from a job. I went out of business, my first business adventure. I was then kicked out by some partners. And I go, yeah, I really get this thing. I think the biggest thing that it helps you if you fail a lot and succeed a lot is to realize even if you can't learn something from failure, Jim, it's just part of the process, right? There's going to be ups, there's going to be down, it's going to be a roller coaster. And the most important thing really to develop is resiliency. How do I celebrate the really great times and how do I transition through times that maybe aren't so great?
Right. Okay. And I know one of the things that you talk about is that sometimes we get stuck trying too hard to learn from the failure instead of just moving on.
Yeah, there's a great story. In the 1970s, there was a big prize given out. It was $1 million to the first group of people that can fly an airplane for a mile under human power. And all the great technical institutions of the day entered, right? But there was one group of hobbyists. They entered their airplane, and the way they won the race was, or the contest was, they'd fly the airplane till it crashed. And when it did crash, they would just fix the obvious stuff. They wouldn't spend all this time figuring out all the possible things that went wrong or could go wrong. They put it up in the air again. During the course of the competition, that airplane crashed 500 times, but they won. So I again think we should do these small iterative steps. Let's take an action, see what kind of results get, take another step. The more steps you take, Jim, I believe the more chance you have to succeed.
Right. Okay. And one of the things that just jumped in my mind there is sometimes that trying to learn from failures, maybe we're focusing on the wrong thing. Maybe we should be learning from, okay, what was working? What are the things that are working that I can maximize there?
Well, listen, failure in our society is romanticized, right? I mean, we only talk about failure after we've had some great success. I mean, we love the story of Rocky. We love the story of J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter, right? Now she's got more money than Queen of England because we think it makes us feel better in our own failure and misery. I guess if it happened to them, it could happen to us, right? But I think we just have to realize it's part of the process and move on, not focus so much on that.
Right. Okay. Right. Great. And one of the things I know you talk about as well is how to get confidence back after a failure, because confidence is a big factor in the actions that we're going to take. So do you have some particular steps or processes there?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to move from wherever you're at. A lot of people, they wallow in their failure. They wallow in the bad things that happen. And don't get me wrong. I think that if you fail, you should have a pity party, right? I think you should cheer the darkness for 24 hours, let go and move on. The way you do that is go someplace, go do something where you can be appreciated or have a success. So if you can't find a place where you can get a financial return, go volunteer your time, go help a friend move, go help a friend do something, and then you'll get some accolades and start feeling well about yourself, and you won't have that desperation. Go someplace where you know you can be successful and then build on it the next day.
Right. Okay. And I think this sort of falls in where you talk about, I don't think I have the note here, but about really achieving the minimal successes, using that as the building platform.
Right. What I talk about is that we need to strive for minimal achievement.
Yeah.
We're all trying to do so many different things. We're all trying to achieve all this stuff. And what we lose in this process is we don't strive for minimal achievement. And so what do I mean by that? What I mean is that, especially as small business owners, we need to focus on doing a handful of things really well. If you're good at one or two things, you can really build a successful business. And the problem we have now is all this multitasking. And we don't actually accomplish more, Jim. We just do more things less well. You can get incredible power in your life and your business by by focusing on one thing at a time. And that's what I mean by striving for minimal achievement.
Right. Okay. And that reminds me, just to get sort of off to a quote from Gandhi, that it's something to the effect of almost anything you can do right now is insignificant, but it's imperative that you do it. And so it's sort of that breaking it down into the small steps. And yeah, this step won't matter that much, but it's important and imperative that I do it.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. And then another thing just to talk about here is that you say that we shouldn't look for the 5 steps or the 7 steps or the 10-step or 13-step method of success.
Right.
So could you help us understand that a bit?
You know, I have to tell you, as small business owner entrepreneurs, and I guess at large, we are a lazy bunch, right? We love to read books that tell us the 7-step success, because if we think we could just copy and follow those 7 steps, we'll get rich like those people, right? But it doesn't work that way. There's all these circumstances and things like that. I don't believe you can ever really follow those exact 7 steps. I think the best you can do is learn from other people's experiences, try to adapt them to your life, and then go from there. Because business is not predictable. You can't succeed like Oprah has. You can't succeed like Donald Trump has. You can't succeed like Groupon just has, right? It just doesn't happen that way. You've got to learn from whatever they did and then try to create your own success. And don't be so lazy.
Right, right. Okay. And so now then, wrapping up this second section here, anything that you want to give us to sort of pull all of that together?
Well, I think that, again, as a small business owner, sometimes we can really get down and it's a difficult economy. But what I want people to remember is this is a $14 trillion economy. As a solopreneur, as a coach, as a small business owner, you should be able to find some business in that $14 trillion. Just don't use the news as an excuse not to be successful this next year.
Right. Okay. And then going back to just some of what you talked about here, really focus on that minimal achievement in a place where there's high level of pain. People are actively looking for solutions, and they spend money to buy those aspirin instead of vitamins.
There's no question. And remember, one more thing, you actually can't sell anything to anybody. You have to be there when people are ready to buy. And that's why it's so important to stay in touch with people through marketing, because you never know when they're going to have the pain and the money to solve that pain, or they know someone that does. So you've got to stay in touch with people and keep building those relationships.
All right. Well, fantastic, Barry. I mean, this has been a great conversation here. And so just to help people, where can they find you?
Well, you can go to my website, which is www.barrymoltz.com. It's BARRYMOLTZ.com.
Okay, perfect. And then they can also find you on Twitter.
Twitter and Amazon. My Twitter handle is Barry Moltz, as well as Facebook.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Barry. I really appreciate the opportunity to sit and talk with you today.
Jim, thanks for having me.
All right.